Hi, I'm Bybreen and welcome back to another episode of Soul Stirring Astrology, where I give you my texture take on the world of astrology. Well, tomorrow is January the 31st. Can't believe we're over the first month of the year of 2018, but so it is. And it brings in a lunar eclipse which takes place in Leo. And it's forming a conjunction with the North Node. It's opposing the Sun, which is conjuncting Venus in Aquarius. So this lunar eclipse is a really powerful one, and the reason why I say this is because it really bears the hallmarks of Jungian psychoanalytic theory. And the central tenet there is about the journey of becoming, the journey of individuation, the journey of being who you're truly meant to be. And so what we're looking at here is the completion of a cycle. It's an opposition, so it's a full moon lunar eclipse. And the journey really is about the emotions, and the emotions that are really buried and repressed because there's been a way that you've lived in a very unconscious way. And this lunar eclipse is shining the light on you becoming courageous enough to live with courage and confidence and consciously. So when we think about this journey of individuation, what's been called for is for you to grow into yourself so you're able to identify a territory in the world. And that could be in anything that you're seeking to bring to life, because we've got this, the moon is conjunct the North Node. It's about your future direction. It's about having the courage to stake a claim in the world and having courage to really lead it, control it, illuminate it, enable others to participate in it. Because the lunar eclipse in Leo is about leadership, self-leadership first. But in order to get there, you really do have to journey back into the past, because the node and the moon are really about the past. It's about emotions, it's about feelings. So it's an opportunity for you to start cleaning up your personal history, the attachments and the bonds that you have held on to maybe longer than you needed to. Have you outgrown these scenarios and situations that have kept you small, where you've shrunken your life to fit with something else or someone else, where you've compromised yourself to the point that you're no longer recognizing the lion or the lioness that lies within you? This lunar eclipse conjunct the North Node is demanding really that you bring out the lion and the lioness, show your courage, show your strength. Live consciously, because by living consciously you'll be able to live a far more liberated life. The road of individuation is a psychological journey towards wholeness, and the wholeness really is pointing at the disparate selves or the disparate identities that we all have. And sometimes they compete with each other, sometimes one dominates the rest of them. And what you're seeking is this sense of wholeness. And the lunar eclipse enables you to start unearthing those gems really that lie within the emotions that are keeping you small and keeping you trapped. I want to give you the example of the myth or the the Bible story of Samson and Delilah. Just about get that out. But anyway, the Bible story of Samson and Delilah. And so Samson was known for his strength and his prowess. And the Philistines were really threatened by him because they feared that he would one day become king and he would have dominance over the Israelites' tribe. So they thought, we can't really have this. So they created this ruse whereby they would send in an enemy, and that was in the form of Delilah, a beautiful woman. They would send her to him and she would seduce him. And so said, so done. They were in relationships, and initially he would hide where the source of his strength lay. And then one night he was there sharing with her, and he decided to tell her the truth, that actually the source of his power and his strength lay in his hair. So he fell asleep, and Delilah cut all his hair off, and then she handed him over to the Philistines. And here was Samson, apparently very weakened by what had happened, this betrayal. And this lunar eclipse in Leo is looking at affairs of the heart where you could be being betrayed. Anyway, so he was chained to 2 pillars, he was imprisoned, and one night he prayed to God and he said, God, please allow me to be avenged on these Philistines. And in that moment he pulled with all of his strength and all of his might, and he pulled the pillars down. And the moral of the story here is this: the inner strength and the inner capacity to overcome is what this lunar eclipse is pointing at. The external world, we've all got an external face, and for some of us there's a real synergy and an authenticity in living that, and for other people there's a disconnect. There's this facade that people give off, but you know, behind closed doors or when they take off the mask, there's this timid personality that really is clinging to the past. And this lunar eclipse in Leo is shining the light for you to, you know, explore, examine this inner terrain. How are you able to ignite the inner strength that's going to liberate you so you can take the journey of the North Node? And that's what Samson's done. He was able to connect with his inner strength to overcome what seemed to be insurmountable odds. And so here again, Jung is saying, you know, strip away the layers of the onion and get to the core of who you actually are, how you can begin to live authentically. I didn't realise that Jung was a Leo. I studied Jungian analytic psychology and his birth details never really kind of came up, but I found out recently that he actually has or had a Leo sun. So there was this personal fascination with the journey inwards in order to become the lion and or the lioness in your life. And that's what's being called of you here. How can you step up? Because of the conjunction with the North Node and this lunar eclipse. So the moon and its moon are in Leo. It's in a fire sign. And the North Node wants you to stake a claim, wants you to identify your territory, wants you to start roaming proudly, you know, having dominance, self-mastery of self first and foremost, and only really. One shouldn't be living a life where they're seeking to control and dominate others. The power lies in your ability to master yourself. And that's what this North Node and lunar eclipse is beckoning you to do. Which brings me to the quote of the day. And the quote of the day is by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And he said, you know, vitality isn't only the ability to persist, it's also the ability to start again. And we're coming to the completion, because it's a full moon lunar eclipse, it's the completion of one cycle to open you up to another cycle. What is it that you need to unearth within your unconscious life to bring it to the surface so you can begin to live far more consciously? That's what you're being called to do. You know, some describe this process of this lunar eclipse as the red moon, the blue moon, the super moon, and they're all speaking to the same thing. The red moon is bringing up those fears and insecurities, and how do you handle that? The blue moon is giving you a sense of having a bit more perspective on the issues that have constrained you. And then how have you been able to extract the messages, the lessons from these negative experiences? How can you turn them into positive elements? How do you bring together your disparate personalities? How can you live with vitality from your soul? Yeah, the ego has its place, but it shouldn't be dominating who you are. How do you live from the inside out with courage? That's what this lunar eclipse is beckoning you to do. Which brings me to the question of the day, and the question of the day is, how are you going to live with more vitality in your life? As always, beautiful people, put your comments and questions and suggestions, or say hello to me in the comment box below. Feel free to share this episode with anyone in your network. You can like and subscribe to my channel. So enjoy what this lunar eclipse in Leo is offering you, because once you're able to liberate yourself from the unconscious living, you can step proudly into this far more authentic, creative self-expression. And don't forget that Mars is in Sagittarius in the 5th house, which is waiting for you to take action on this creative self-expression. So until then, I will wish you well. Have a wonderful time exploring this. And I want to hear how you are roaring like the lion you are, or roaring like the lioness you are. So feel free to put that in the comment box below. So until then, bye-bye.